Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Public Cloud Design Tips and Tricks. In this channel, we generally discuss about public cloud design problem statement and their related solution. Today, we are going to deep dive into ambassador pattern. Let's try to understand what is the problem statement, what, how and why to use ambassador pattern. Now, before we understand the pattern, let's try to understand what is the general English meaning of country's ambassador or what is the meaning of ambassador. A country's ambassador is an official envoy, especially a highly ranking diplomat who represents a state and is usually accredited to another sovereign state or to an international organization. Think about country A wants to do a diplomatic discussion with country B. In that case, country A places a representative in country B so that via this representative, country A can interact with country B in an efficient way. That is the basic definition of ambassador. Now let's try to understand how it is applied in our design pattern. So let's try to understand the first case. Generally, ambassador pattern is being used when you want to do a feature enablement in legacy system without disturbing the legacy code, or where the risk of changing the legacy code is extremely high. In that case, we generally recommend to use ambassador pattern. Let's try to understand. So in this situation, in Microsoft Azure, you have hosted a legacy code which is in virtual machine, and you are accessing this legacy code via this gateway. So what is happening? So you can think about a scenario. It's a tax calculator, which is a kind of legacy system which is doing this calculation. And via this application gateway URL, you are accessing this application to get the tax calculated. Right now, you got a need like, okay, if the age group is between 30 to 40, or if the salary is between 60,000 K to 40,000 K, in that case, that should be a new rule which needs to be added. And you are completely afraid that you have to change the code in the legacy system. In that case, ambassador pattern is going to help. So that new rule that we are talking now, it can be added here as a separate component above the legacy system, so that if the request is coming and based on the URL pattern, it will be redirected to this ambassador code, and inside this ambassador component you can do the calculation, and then once if the condition met, then only the calculation will go to the tax system. And if the age group is not according to that, then the direct communication will go to the legacy code and do the calculation. In this way, you have decoupled your system with the help of this ambassador pattern. So it will a kind of enrichment to your current existing system where you can do the calculations. So the benefits, it uploads features to ambassadors, a new features introduction without touching the legacy. This is the most important part. Without touching the legacy part, you can modify, you can add a new feature to your system. Now let's try to understand use case 2. We have covered it in multiple videos. Mostly it is on the service mesh concept. Let's try to reiterate again. So when you have a monolithic system, then in that case, the communication, security, monitoring, tracing, retry, business logic, everything generally clubbed into a single monolithic system. But when you split this monolithic into microservice pattern, in that case, the business logic will be different for each component. But the communication, security, monitoring, tracing, retry, these are all can be clubbed into a shareable component and can be deployed to all the pod inside your Kubernetes architecture or in your microservice architecture. And you can do it via the proxy mechanism. That means a sidecar pattern can be enabled where you can install these capabilities, and this can be reused across your microservices. And this is another reason we call it as ambassador pattern with a service mesh concept. So in this case also, you can distribute, you can reuse the component across your microservices with the ambassador pattern. Now let's try to understand this data. This diagram I have fetched it from Microsoft document. So as you can see here, you have your application main code, which is a main functionality, which makes a request to your remote service. But as you can think about, remote service is very hectic to touch it. You want to do some calculation before that. Here ambassador will do the needful for you. So you can have a proxy where you can implement the retry, circuit breaking, monitoring, security, everything will be handled here. Then after handling it here, if this phase will be passed, then only the remote service call will be invoked. Otherwise, it will give you the response itself from here. So that is the base usage of ambassador pattern. You can think the same diagram in a legacy way. Like if you have a legacy system and you want to enrich with a new feature, then inside the ambassador component, you can enrich that particular feature, and then after that you can go to the legacy code. So this is how ambassador patterns helps you. So the benefits: features are uploaded to ambassador and it can handle independently. You can modify ambassador without changing the legacy. Security, networking, authentication features can be clubbed into a single ambassador. So these are all features that you have to use ambassador. Then the question is, when not to use ambassador pattern? When, as you can see here in the previous diagram, let me go to the previous diagram. So here you can see there is an extra component which is coming. So in this case, if you have a need for high latency, in that case, you should never choose for ambassador pattern, because your request is again hopping over to another component before it comes to the target state. So that is where you need to be very careful when you are deciding the ambassador pattern. If the latency is the high priority, then do not choose it. And also, when the connectivity proxy need deeper integration with the application code, that means there are a lot of changes that you have to do based on the ambassador pattern in your application code or in your legacy code. Do not prefer ambassador, rather than try to fix it in other way. So these are all two cases you should never use ambassador. Now there are few sample cases I'm going to explain. So one is a TLS uploading. Like you want to do the TLS uploading before a request hits your endpoint service. In that case, you can use ambassador. You want to realize mutual TLS authentication or validation before it reaches to your service, then there also you can create a component where it will do the mutual TLS authentication or authorization. Then after that the request will be will be landed over your service. There also you can use MTLS ambassador. Then if you have new feature enablement without touching the legacy code, there also you can use it. You have a distributed solution with multiple languages and frameworks, and you want to execute a set of common activities there also you can create an ambassador and you can deploy it to that particular distributed system where the execution will be faster. And then the last one, for high availability, you want to reroute, you want to do a health check, and based on the health check you want to route the traffic to other system or other component. There also you can use ambassador component and you can write it down manually by yourself. But public clouds are providing a lot of other solution for high availability. It's an old concept, I can say, but it depends upon system to system. So based on your need, you can choose it. So these are all sample cases for ambassadors. Yeah, as you know, when we are talking about cost, that means you have enabled a new component in your ecosystem. So definitely you are going to pay more for it. So it comes with definitely a cost. So choose wisely when you are deciding ambassador pattern, whether it is giving you more cost or less cost. So be careful when you are designing it. These are all data I got it from a Microsoft document and few other document along with my work experience. So I would request all of you, please go through the Microsoft document. You will get a lot of information. If you have any question that you want to discuss with us, feel free to reach out to us over the video chat or video comments, and we'll definitely respond you over the video. Thanks a lot for watching this, and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. Thank you.